Welcome back. We're here with the incomparable Sascha Penn. Sascha, it's always good to see you at the beginning of each season here. Season 3. Last time we talked, you gave me a couple of cliff notes. I was excited about season 2, but season 3, twists, turns, betrayal, wanting to get out the game. What was the inspiration behind season 3 for you?
Well, first off, June, always good to see you. Thank you for taking the time. I think season 3 is really about, you know, on some level dealing with the wreckage of season 2, right? Because season 2 ends rather dramatically and there's a lot going on. But it's also, I think, all of our characters on some level are going through an existential crisis, trying to figure out who they are individually, but also within the context of the family, right? And this is, first and foremost a family drama. That's how it was conceived, and that's what it remains. And so, for example, I think a lot of season 3 is about, Rock and Kanan sort of trying to figure out this really tortured relationship that they have. And, in the case of Kanan, he sees that his mother he's starting to see who his mother is, frankly. And she senses that he sees this. And so she's trying to sort of figure out what this next version of herself might look like, because she's thinking like, well, what I've done before has only driven my son further away from me. So what do I need to do to bring him back into the fold? Because look, I think the thing that's interesting about Rock, and has been so sort of brilliantly realized by Patina Miller, is that she is a mother. First and foremost, she is a mother, and protecting her son is really, always at the forefront of her mind. So, it's a real journey that she and Kanan are on across season 3. And I think we start to really see Kanan turn into the character that he becomes when he's played by 50 in the original Power.
Now, the stage is obviously set in the 90s. What kind of theatrical or magic did you take advantage of this season to kind of bring us that authenticity, to make sure that you maintain exactly the feel that you wanted to for 90? Like, what were some of the aesthetics that you did similar or even differently to allow us to kind of grow in the 90s as we're growing with this story?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, the music and fashion is always really, the most important piece of that, right? And so I think, we continue to sort of expand our wardrobe, in interesting ways, working with designers of that era, and obviously pulling, styles and fashions of that era. So that's always, and I think we're always raising our game in that regard. The music, the nice thing for us is that as the show progresses through the 90s, there's more and more musical options, because of course hip hop was emerging and expanding at that time. It's so interesting, June, to see the difference between hip hop in 92 and hip hop in, let's say, 93, 94.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible because we only use music of the particular era and year. So we've been actually kind of limited, right? But now, it's so interesting because you just see how hip hop explodes, in terms of the song choices that we're afforded as the series progresses. So that's another huge part of it. And again, part and parcel of that is really seeing how much the culture sort of evolved over that period of time, and specifically New York, right? Like New York in the early, but really mid 90s, I mean, it defined hip hop culture. And all due respect to LA and the West Coast, which, don't get me wrong, they were doing their thing. But I mean, so much of hip hop in the mid 90s was New York driven. And we're really exploring that.
Sascha, thank you so much for another tremendous season. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Sascha Penn, executive producer, director. I'm your host, June Archer. Thank you so much. Sascha, congratulations on season 3.
June, thank you so much, man. Great seeing you.
You as well, brother.